Judge Miller laughs at a black woman in court, but his laughter stops abruptly when she flashes her USSS badge. Witness the courtroom turn on its head in a moment that redefines justice. Share your thoughts and tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. Lisa Roberts, a composed and confident woman, facing a judge who's notorious for his harsh rulings and stern demeanor. This judge, Howard Miller, is a seasoned figure in the legal community, known for his quick judgments and often dismissive attitude toward defendants who challenge his authority. The morning had started like any other in the Fulton County Courthouse, but today the air was charged with an unspoken tension. People from all walks of life filled the wooden benches, their eyes darting between Lisa, the judge, and the bustling court staff preparing for the session. Lisa, dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, sits poised and ready, her badge hidden, a secret just waiting to come to light. Judge Miller takes his seat at the high bench, his robe flowing behind him, casting a long shadow over the courtroom. With a brief, barely noticeable smirk, he surveys the room, his gaze lingering on Lisa for a moment longer than necessary. "Let's proceed," he declares, his voice echoing slightly off the high, ornate ceilings. As the prosecutor begins, outlining the charges against a young man accused of a crime he insists he did not commit, Lisa listens intently, her expression unreadable. The young man, Tyler, sits nervously beside his attorney, glancing occasionally at Lisa for reassurance. He had been at the wrong place at the wrong time, caught up in a system too ready to judge based on appearances rather than facts. Lisa knows the weight of what is to come. She understands that what happens today could change Tyler's life forever. She had seen the evidence, knew the truths that lay buried under procedural jargon and prejudicial assumptions. Today, she would need to use all her skills not just as a lawyer, but as someone who stands up for justice. As the prosecutor paints a grim picture of Tyler, Lisa prepares herself to reveal the truth. She knows that the moment she stands up and presents her badge, the entire room will be forced into a stunned silence. The judge, so sure of his control over his courtroom, will find himself questioning his judgments. This isn't just about winning a case. It's about challenging the deep-seated biases that cloud the justice system, about standing up for someone who had no one else to stand up for him. It's about a truth that needs to be heard, loud and clear. And so, with the courtroom hanging on every word, Lisa stands, ready to change the course of the hearing. She knows the power of what she's about to do, and she feels the weight of the eyes upon her. This is her moment, the one where she reveals who she really is, not just a lawyer, but a special agent of the United States Secret Service. The badge she carries isn't just a piece of metal, it's a symbol of truth and justice. As she steps forward, the whispers stop. The room holds its breath, and the judge looks on, unaware that the day's true lesson is about to begin. As Lisa steps forward, the courtroom's anticipation builds to a palpable tension. She reaches into her suit, slowly pulling out her badge, shining brightly for all to see. The inscription, United States Secret Service, catches the light, sending a ripple of shock through the room. Murmurs and whispers fill the air as everyone, including the judge, tries to make sense of the sudden twist. Judge Miller, caught off guard, frowns deeply, his previous confidence shaken. He looks at Lisa, now seeing her in a new light. He had thought her just another lawyer to dismiss, but she is much more. "What is the meaning of this?" he demands, his voice betraying a hint of insecurity. Lisa stands firmly, her voice clear and steady. "Your Honor, I am here not just as an advocate for the accused, but as a federal agent who has reviewed the case thoroughly. The evidence against Tyler is not only flawed, but it's also been manipulated to present a narrative that is far from the truth." The prosecutor, a man named Evan Mitchell, rises swiftly, his face a mask of concern mixed with frustration. "Objection, Your Honor. The defendant's lawyer is trying to turn this court into a spectacle. This is irrelevant to the charges at hand." Judge Miller nods. "Sustained. Agent Roberts, please stick to the facts of the case." Lisa nods, unfazed. Very well, Your Honor. Let's discuss the facts. She turns to address the courtroom, her voice echoing slightly off the walls. Tyler was accused based on shaky evidence from a single witness who has since admitted to not being sure about what they saw that night. Furthermore, this witness has ties to the actual perpetrator, a fact that was conveniently overlooked in the initial investigation. Evan Mitchell tries to interrupt, but Lisa continues, her momentum building. This isn't just a case of mistaken identity. It's a case of deliberate misdirection, and as someone sworn to uphold the law, I cannot and will not let it go unchallenged. The judge, now visibly more attentive, leans forward, his earlier smugness replaced by a seriousness fitting the turn of events. "Proceed, Agent Roberts," he says, indicating that he is willing to listen. Lisa presents document after document, evidence that she had meticulously gathered, photos, text messages, and emails that paint a very different picture than the one presented by the prosecution. Tyler, far from being a criminal, was actually a victim of a broader scheme involving blackmail and coercion. As Lisa lays out her case, the room is silent except for the sound of her voice and the rustling of papers. The jury watches intently, their earlier doubts slowly turning into disbelief at the prosecutorial missteps Lisa unveils. Tyler, who had been sitting quietly, visibly relaxes as Lisa speaks. The burden of the false charges had been weighing heavily on him, and for the first time since his arrest, he feels a glimmer of hope. Lisa concludes her presentation with a powerful statement. This court is entrusted with immense power, the power to decide the fate of individuals based on the truth. Today, I am here to ensure that truth is not just considered, but respected. Judge Miller, now fully engaged, nods slowly. He looks at the documents before him, then back at Lisa. The courtroom awaits his reaction, the silence thick with anticipation. He finally speaks, "Thank you, Agent Roberts. This is a lot to consider. We will take a short recess before continuing." As the courtroom empties, Lisa feels a quiet satisfaction. She had done her job, not just as a lawyer or an agent, but as a guardian of justice. The next steps would be crucial, but she had laid the groundwork for a fair and just resolution. The courtroom doors swing open again after a brief recess, signaling the continuation of a trial that has taken an unexpected turn. As people filter back into their seats, there's a palpable buzz, whispers of speculation about how Judge Miller will handle the revelations brought forth by Lisa. Lisa, composed as ever, reviews her notes one last time, preparing for whatever might come next. She knows that her intervention has shifted the dynamics in the courtroom, but the battle isn't over yet. Across the room, Tyler shares a hopeful look with her, his earlier anxiety replaced by cautious optimism. Judge Miller re-enters the room, his demeanor more measured than before. He takes a moment to settle into his chair, then addresses the courtroom with a newfound gravity. "Let us proceed. Agent Roberts has presented compelling evidence that challenges the prosecution's case. I expect a rigorous cross-examination. Mr. Mitchell, you may begin." Prosecutor Mitchell stands, clearly unsettled by the turn of events but trying to regain control. He approaches Lisa with a mix of wariness and determination. "Agent Roberts, you've made quite dramatic claims here today. Isn't it true that your involvement in this case could be seen as overreaching, given your position with the Secret Service?" Lisa responds without hesitation. "My duty as a federal agent includes ensuring that justice is served, Mr. Mitchell. When I see a potential miscarriage of justice, it is not just my duty but my responsibility to intervene." Mitchell tries another angle. "But isn't it also true that you could be biased in favor of the defendant? How can we ensure your objectivity in this matter?" Lisa stands firm, her voice steady. "My record speaks for itself. I have no personal ties to the defendant. My only commitment is to the truth, regardless of whom it favors." The prosecutor shifts uncomfortably, sensing that his attempts to discredit her are not swaying the jury or the judge. He decides to change his tactic, focusing instead on the evidence. Let's talk about the evidence you brought forward. Are you suggesting that the police conducted a flawed investigation on purpose? Lisa nods. The evidence suggests that there was a significant oversight. Whether it was intentional or due to negligence is up for this court to decide. However, it is clear that crucial facts were ignored, which led to Tyler's wrongful accusation. Judge Miller, now thoroughly engaged, interjects, "Agent Roberts, can you elaborate on these oversights?" Lisa walks the courtroom through each piece of evidence, explaining how the connections between the supposed witness and the real perpetrator were overlooked, and how the narrative built against Tyler was based on convenience rather than fact. She concludes, "This isn't just about one wrong decision. It's about ensuring our system doesn't falter under the weight of its flaws." As Lisa speaks, the room hangs on her every word. Even those who had doubted her role in the proceedings are now gripped by the clarity and conviction she brings to her arguments. The evidence is laid bare for all to see, challenging preconceptions and demanding a reassessment of Tyler's case. The prosecutor, now on the back foot, concludes his cross-examination, aware that he has been outmaneuvered. Judge Miller thanks Lisa for her thorough analysis and announces, "We will take a brief pause before the defense presents its final arguments." As the courtroom buzzes during the break, the spectators and the jury alike seem to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the case. Lisa's intervention has not only provided a lifeline for Tyler but also sparked a broader discussion about justice and accountability. The stakes are high, and as the trial moves toward its conclusion, everyone understands that the outcome will have repercussions far beyond the fate of one young man. The energy in the room reflects the gravity of what is about to unfold. As the courtroom settles back into a tense silence after the break, the defense attorney, Nora Simmons, rises to deliver the final arguments. Her confidence has visibly grown, bolstered by the foundation Lisa has laid. She stands before the jury, poised and ready to drive home the implications of the revelations shared by Lisa. "Members of the jury," Nora begins, her voice resonant and firm. "Today, we have seen a striking example of what happens when the processes meant to protect us falter. We've been given a rare glimpse into the cracks of a system that is supposed to be infallible. But, as Agent Roberts has clearly demonstrated, even our legal system can make grave errors." She walks slowly in front of the jury, making eye contact with each member. "Tyler has been accused based on insufficient and manipulated evidence. We've heard from a credible, experienced federal agent who has no other interest in this case than to see justice served. If we ignore this evidence, if we dismiss the truth she has brought to light, what message are we sending about the value of justice in our community?" Nora pauses, letting her words sink in. The jurors listen, visibly moved by the gravity of their responsibility. She continues, "This isn't just about deciding whether Tyler is guilty of a crime he did not commit. This is about the integrity of our justice system. It's about whether we, as a community, stand for truth and justice, or whether we allow fear and prejudice to dictate our actions." Turning towards the evidence displayed on the screens around the room, Nora points to the inconsistencies and oversights Lisa highlighted. "Agent Roberts has provided us with undeniable proof that the initial investigation was flawed. Not only flawed, biased. You have the power to correct this. You have the power to ensure that Tyler receives the fair trial he deserves." As Nora concludes her compelling plea, let's not allow another young life to be derailed by our unwillingness to question and correct our system. Let's stand together for truth, for justice, and for the fair application of our laws. She returns to her seat, and the courtroom is filled with a heavy silence, the weight of her words lingering in the air. Judge Miller, clearly affected by the proceedings, takes a moment before addressing the room. "Thank you, Miss Simmons. The court will now recess while the jury deliberates. You have all the evidence. It is now up to you to decide the fate of the defendant based on what you believe is just." The jury exits to the deliberation room. their faces etched with the seriousness of their task. The spectators in the courtroom begin to murmur among themselves, reflecting on the dramatic turn of events they've witnessed. Lisa sits quietly, her expression composed, but her eyes reflecting the intensity of her investment in the outcome. Tyler looks over at her, his eyes filled with gratitude, regardless of the outcome. He knows that whatever happens next, the truth about his situation has been aired, thanks to her courage and commitment. The wait for the jury's decision is tense. Everyone in the courtroom seems to hold their breath, understanding that the implications of this case extend far beyond its immediate outcome. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation and a newfound awareness of the need for vigilance and integrity within the justice system. As the hours pass, the tension only grows. Each tick of the clock in the quiet courtroom is a reminder of the weighty decision being made just a few feet away. Lisa, sitting with a calm exterior, reflects on the broader implications of her actions today, knowing that she has ignited a conversation that will likely extend into the broader community and perhaps beyond. The heavy wooden doors of the jury room finally open, and the jurors file back into the courtroom, their expressions inscrutable but composed. The atmosphere tightens further, a palpable anticipation settling over the room as everyone awaits the verdict that will seal Tyler's fate and potentially influence perceptions of justice in the community. Judge Miller calls the courtroom to order with a sharp rap of his gavel. "Will the defendant please rise?" he commands in a clear, authoritative tone. Tyler stands, his body tense but his face calm, having prepared himself for any outcome after the vigorous defense put forth by Lisa and Nora. The foreperson, a middle-aged woman with a stern but fair demeanor, stands to deliver the verdict. She unfolds a small piece of paper, and the room falls silent, every ear straining to catch her words. "In the case of the state versus Tyler Robinson," she begins, her voice steady, "we, the jury, find the defendant." She pauses for a moment, the suspense drawing a collective breath from the room. "Not guilty on all counts." A soft murmur ripples through the courtroom, a mix of relief and surprise. Tyler's knees buckle slightly in relief, and Lisa reaches out to steady him with a supportive hand on his shoulder. She offers him a small, reassuring smile, her eyes reflecting both the gravity of the moment and the satisfaction of justice served. Judge Miller nods solemnly, acknowledging the jury's decision. "The verdict is accepted. Mr. Robinson, you are free to go. Court is adjourned." He strikes his gavel one final time, its sound marking the end of a pivotal chapter in Tyler's life and a significant moment for the community's trust in their legal system. As the courtroom begins to empty, the air filled with whispers and relieved sighs, Tyler turns to Lisa, his eyes welling up with tears. "Thank you," he whispers, his voice choked with emotion. "You saved my life." Lisa shakes her head modestly. "I just did my job, Tyler. But remember, this isn't just about you. It's a reminder to all of us about the importance of diligence and integrity in our justice system. We must always be ready to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult." Outside the courthouse, Lisa addresses a small crowd of reporters who have gathered, drawn by the dramatic events and the unexpected outcome of the trial. She speaks confidently, her message clear and compelling. Today, justice was served, not only for Tyler but for every individual who has ever felt overlooked or misrepresented by our legal system. Let this case be a reminder of our duty to seek the truth and uphold the principles of justice, without bias or prejudice. As the crowd disperses, Lisa and Tyler walk down the courthouse steps together, their steps light with the weight of the past lifted. They pause at the bottom, looking back at the imposing building that was the arena of their intense struggle. "Remember, Tyler," Lisa says earnestly, "use this experience as a force for good. Advocate for those who are voiceless, and never forget the power of truth." Tyler nods, a sense of purpose kindling within him. "I will, and I hope others will too, knowing that change is possible. They part ways, moving in opposite directions, but both carry with them the profound impact of their ordeal. Lisa, with her unwavering commitment to justice, continues her work, more resolved than ever to fight for the truth. Tyler, exonerated but deeply changed, steps into a new life with a new mission, to ensure that no one else suffers as he did. As the sun sets over the city, casting long shadows and golden hues across the courthouse steps, the day ends with a sense of hope and renewal. Justice, often a difficult and elusive path, has been served today, reinforcing the belief that integrity and persistence can indeed prevail.